Welcome back to my channel. Subscribe. The conference room was tense. Everyone sat still as Mr. James, the company's operations director, slammed his report onto the glass table. His voice thundered through the room. Maybe if you were more competent, Alina, we wouldn't be losing clients. Laughter rippled from a few of his loyal staff. Alina just blinked, forcing a calm smile. She had worked for months on the numbers he was mocking. The same numbers he had quietly altered behind her back to cover his poor decisions. But that day she didn't argue. She simply said, "You're right, James. Maybe I need to take a closer look." Then she picked up the file and walked out. Everyone thought she'd been humiliated. No one saw the small glint of satisfaction in her eyes, a spark of quiet defiance that promised she wasn't done yet. That night in her apartment, Alina opened her personal laptop. Not the company's system, the one he could monitor. She began piecing together everything. The duplicate invoices, fake client signatures, unapproved vendor payments, all of it tied neatly to one department, his. She remembered every time he'd taken credit for her work. Every time he'd interrupted her in meetings just to sound superior. Now she finally had proof that his entire career was built on lies. By dawn, she had built a spreadsheet so detailed it could make an accountant cry. She didn't send it to HR, she sent it to the board's internal auditor and blind copied the company's legal counsel. Then she sat back, took a sip of her cold coffee and whispered, "Checkmate." The next morning, when she arrived at work, she found James in the lobby, shaking hands with a potential investor. He looked at her with that same smug smile. "Elena," he said smoothly, "try not to mess anything up today." She smiled back. "I won't." An hour later, the auditors arrived. They went straight to his office. Within minutes, his voice could be heard echoing through the hall. "Wait, there must be some mistake. I never approved those transfers." Elena kept typing, calm and focused. Every eye in the office slowly turned toward her desk. Then the CFO called her in. "Alina, they said you provided the data." "Yes," she replied quietly. "I was only doing my job." By evening, James's name had been wiped from the company directory. Security escorted him out as he muttered threats and excuses. The same people who once laughed at her now stood watching in stunned silence. A few days later, the board chair invited Alina to a private meeting. He told her, "Your audit saved this company." "We had no idea what he'd been doing." She simply nodded. "Thank you, sir." When she walked out of that room, her title had changed. Senior Compliance Officer. Her office now overlooked the city skyline, the same view James once boasted about. She placed one framed document on her desk. Integrity is silent power. And that day she finally smiled, not out of pride, but because the truth had spoken, louder than his arrogance ever could.